Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Flow of Consciousness YouTube channel. It's been a while again since we've talked, and I'm currently reporting from Rishikesh in the north of India. It's considered the capital of yoga in the world. It became pretty famous after the Beatles came here to the Beatles ashram, and I think that Ram Dass was here too. I mean, a lot of celebrities from the West came to Rishikesh, and that's, I think, partly why it became very famous in the West. So it's a very interesting and intense place to be. I must be very honest with you that it's not really my place. It's too chaotic. There is too much choice. There is over 200 yoga schools here. So it's kind of like if you go into the grocery store and you're looking to buy toothpaste and you go into the aisle where the toothpaste is and it's just like 100 meters long and there is 300 different types of toothpaste. There is just too much stress. You can't choose. And it's way much more convenient to go to a little corner store where they have like 3 options and you just pick the one that you resonate with the most, right? So I feel a little bit overwhelmed here. The traffic is super loud. Everybody's honking with the scooters and there's lots of noises. So it's not like really shanti. But some people might really like it. I don't really like it. That is just how it is. But anyways, I wanted to ask you how you guys are doing. What have you been up to? I must admit that I kind of miss you guys. It's been a long time since I've been like really in touch with Europe and the culture that I came from. India is very, very different. And I'm starting to really notice that in a way. It's a very interesting experience to be traveling for such a long time in a culture or in a country that's completely different from the one that I was brought up in. And it made me think a lot about my roots, where I came from, and I came to the conclusion that it's undeniably a part of who I am. The surroundings and the environment in which we were brought up in are undeniably part of our nature, right? And you can renounce the past and you can move on and adopt a new lifestyle and culture and move to another country and learn about the language and the way people interact and all these things. You can do that, and still I think that if at least you were born in a place and you spent most of your childhood there, it will be part of you anyway, right? You cannot get rid of that. And that's something I've noticed by being here for such a long time now, is that I kind of feel this nostalgia towards my culture. And it's a strange concept to think about, like, what does it mean, your culture? What does it mean? But it's more like small things, like the habits of people, how people communicate, how people interact, the way people relate to one another. It's very, very different here than it is in the West. And the yogic approach to life is union, to integrate everything into one union, to unite the mind, the body, the breath, and to also develop a sense of selflessness, to provide service, to dissolve your ego more and more, to be less self-centered, all these kind of compassionate approach towards life, balance, all these things, right? And so this idea of union, and everybody is one, we're all human, right? This is the common denominator. We're all human, so we're all in a way the same, but we're also very, very different. And that becomes very clear to me now after a while, being in a place that I don't feel at home in at all. Like, I don't feel at home here in India. I feel like it's a really interesting place, very rich. There is so much wisdom here, so much knowledge, so much how would I say, like, spiritually conscious energy. And at the same time, there's also very low awareness around certain things, which is very interesting to notice, right? Like, people are very devoted and they are more in tune with spirituality in general, but there is also a lot of neglect for example, animals in the streets, or the buildings are deteriorating. Nobody seems to take care of anything because it doesn't really matter somehow. I don't know why, but this is kind of the impression I get. And so it's very different from what I'm used to, where I grew up in, and it creates this almost like nostalgic feeling within me. Like I must admit that for the first time I feel kind of homesick somehow, and it's very strange for me because I've never felt like that. And maybe me sharing this with you is to provide you with a different perspective about traveling the world and, you know, exploring all these cultures. Yes, it's cool and it's fun and it's interesting, absolutely, but the longer I've been on the road, and it's been more than 6 years now, the more I realize that I cannot escape my roots in a way. If I want to feel at home in an environment, it probably will be somewhere that is close to the culture that I was brought up in. It's an interesting thing to think about, right? If you look in any place in the world, in any city, people from different countries, they kind of flock together in communities, right? You have in New York, you have Chinatown, and you have these other, everybody is kind of like forming a community with the people from their country. Why is that, right? Because they want to feel like at home, and the roots are there. They were brought up in these cultural, with these cultural habits and ways of communicating with one another. So you naturally kind of connect with people who are from the same background, right? And so this is something that I've been thinking about a lot. And I was listening to a podcast by John Harbinger a while back, and I highly recommend you check it out. It's a really, really interesting person, and he has very cool guests on his podcast. And one of the episodes, he has a guest who runs this, I don't know, non-profit, I think, where people get the chance to give their last talk. So basically the concept is that they prepare a talk as if it would be the last one they would ever give. So after that talk they would die, right? It's a mental exercise. And so maybe I invite you to also think about this. Let's say you would die tomorrow and you would have one opportunity to give one last talk. What would you say in that talk? And I actually did this exercise, and it's really, really interesting how so many things become so totally unimportant when you start to think about, okay, if I would have only one chance to share what I wanted to share, to say what I wanted to say, and after that it would be finished, it kind of trims off the fat, and it really leaves you with what is truly important. And maybe perhaps I will make a post about this somehow, or share this this text that I came up with. But it's a very interesting exercise to try for yourself, because it brings up a lot of things. It's kind of like how you say when you cook the cream and it rises to the top and all the rest is just waste, you throw it away, so you only keep like the crème de la crème, kind of, in a way. Or it can be a very cathartic experience. In the podcast he shares about a lot of people forgiving or speaking up about their shame and things like that. So it's very cool exercise. I highly recommend you give it a shot. And then there is another part in the episode where he talks about one of his favorite questions to ask himself, like, what are the 5 moments or days in your life that you were the happiest, the most fulfilled, your best self, and you felt the best in your life? What are these 5 moments, and then the 5 darkest moments? And so I again made a list, and again I invite you to do the same. What you will find most likely is that the 5 best days or moments in your life always include other people. And when I made the list, it became clear that this is very, very true. And so again, it made me think, why am I spending so much time alone, traveling, looking for new environments, new opportunities, new people, new, like a home. I'm looking for a home, right? But this home, where is this? It's probably, yes, within yourself, all good, but it's also with other people. We are social beings. We are meant to be together with other people, and the best moments in our lifetime are shared experiences with other people. And so to tie everything together, this roots, this cultural kind of, how would I say, part of my personality, and then this realization that the best moments in my life were with other people. So merging this is probably finding the place where I feel that I belong the most is going to be a mixture of people who are raised in the same culture with my roots, and then finding the right people who I resonate with. And I don't think that I will find this in a completely different country, completely different culture, because it's just so different, and I can really feel that. So those are just a few of the thoughts that I've been having these past weeks, because I've spent a lot of time here now in India, mostly alone. I mean, I did a couple PTCs, and you do yoga courses and yoga classes, and you walk around and everything, and you meet people, yes, and you go to coffee shops and you talk to some people, yes. But when you're in transit, you know, I'm not gonna be here permanently, so the interactions I have with people, yeah, they are very temporary. Of course, I can meet a few people that I see regularly over this time, but then I leave again, they leave again. So it's not the same quality of relationships that you build with people that you come back to every time and time and time again, right? My old friends from Belgium, those are the people that I will stay in touch with for many, many more years, because I always come back to Belgium, my family, you know. These people are the real people that will bring you the most joy, not the new other destination. And these are just things that I'm speaking out loud, you know, just I'm thinking to myself out loud, because I make these realizations, and yet I still keep traveling, yet I still keep looking for this place where I find this peace, right? Because there's always this idea that, yeah, it will be somewhere else, it will be somewhere else, it will be more. I have to keep looking, but maybe it's more about taking a step back and realizing that it will probably be in a space that is connected to my roots, with the same cultural values, the same habits, the same ways of relating to one another, because I understand that, you know. Of course I understand different cultures partly, but also a big part of it I don't, right? When I go to a temple here, for example, people have their devotional practices, and they pray, and they do the things that they are supposed to do in the temple. I was never brought up in this environment, so I don't know what to do. I can look around and try to imitate and try to behave respectfully in this environment, but it's not the same level of devotion. I don't understand it to the level that they do, right? And so for them it brings this connection to something that's larger than themselves, because they really were brought up in this energy. They understand it. It's part of who they are, right? For me, it's not like that. I just go there and I look around, and I can find it very interesting, and I can see the depth of what people experience in these places, and I can try to resonate with that. But since I'm not brought up in this environment, I don't know this level of devotion, this depth of devotion. It's not in me, right? And the same way, the other way around, when they come to Europe, to the West, they also are there, but they have a, you know, it's not like they feel like their roots are there, because they're not. So this is something that I kind of experienced these past months, even slowly, and now it's becoming like more clear, which has been a very interesting thing to experience. and maybe perhaps you are curious about how it is to see so many different places and to explore so many different cultures, because in the end of the day it just brings you back to where you came from, right? It's kind of like the hero's journey. You start off ignorant and naive, and then you go around and you explore many different places, and you go through a lot of different challenges and ups and downs, and then at the end you just come back a changed man, more in tune with himself, but also more aware of where he came from and why this is something to be very grateful for. So it's a beautiful experience to go through, in that sense. So yeah, I felt very nostalgic about everyone here on the channel and my family, my friends back home, and it has been a very interesting experience to contemplate these things. So maybe it can also make you think about where you're at. Maybe it can help you feel gratitude towards the place you're currently in. Maybe you feel like, oh, I want to get away and I want to go explore and travel and it's so cool and I want to see the world. Sure, it's very nice to do that, but take it from someone who has been doing this for a long time now. The place you're currently in, if you're surrounded by the people you love, in an environment that you feel connected to, that you feel comfortable in, that you know and understand, that is a very wonderful thing. And it's a privilege to be in that space. And of course it's also a privilege for me to be able to go anywhere I want, whenever I want. But being in your homely environment, surrounded by the people you love, that is the most beautiful place to be in, I would say. So yeah, I hope that this video maybe can help you appreciate that a little bit more, because I certainly do. And I'm looking forward very much to going back and to embracing all my wonderful friends and family, and to share with them what I've been through and how much I also more and more understand and realize how important you are in my life, right? So on that note, I will end this video. I hope it was informative. I hope you enjoyed my stream of thoughts. I hope you're doing well, and